First of all, thank you very much for coming to our class. I hope we're going to do some interesting stuff for you, and you won't be bored during the next 90 minutes. My name is Arman Gukasian. I'm the CEO and founder and product manager of product Revizto, and today I'm going to be speaking with my co-speakers and colleagues, Mark Krzyzewski and Curtis Morgan. And we have Greg Keller and Alex Zuev, who will be assisting us in some demonstration of some features. Today we'll be mostly concentrating our speech on the workflows that our users are having. So number one workflow, it will be how to win the project and how to beat the project using Revizto, and what's the benefits that you can get. And number two workflow, Mark is going to be talking about coordination and collaboration during the construction phase and pre-construction, I guess, as well, right? So, and how you can use our powerful issue tracking system for that purposes. And the third part of the presentation will be some insights about 4.0 version, which is coming up in February. Some exciting insights that I'll be sharing myself. So before I start, I just want to quickly understand how many of you sitting here already used Revizto. Can you raise your hands? So I would say half of it. So I would know how deep I have to talk about it. But again, so I'll start from a short overview. Why we're doing this? What is the purpose of this product that we brought up to AEC industry? And then I'll give the stage to my colleagues. First of all, the company we founded in 2008 with the full intention bringing a gaming technology into this AEC industry and simplifying the very heavy workflows and heavy kind of data that AEC industry is having in their daily usage and daily work. So, and in 2012, actually 3 years ago, we brought up the product called Revizto, and we announced it at AU 2012. Within these 3 years, we've gained, as of today, more than 50,000 users from 150 countries, with very little actually marketing and promotions. And we've been working within these 3 years very closely with our users, understanding and sitting next to them, understanding what's the usage and what are the workflows that we can have with the product, and what are the features and usability functionality that we have to develop to the product to make it really easy for our users. And I guess within these 3 years, we've achieved some of them, or most of them, and I keep working hard for you guys. So what is Revizto? Very simply, it gives you a possibility. The main purpose of Revizto gives to a user a possibility to share your BIM data, whether it's in Revit, Navisworks, AutoCAD 3D, and any other programs that you're using, and in this case, mostly for Revit and Navisworks, to the people who have no idea how to use these programs. And still they're in the project team, still they want to connect and collaborate with you, and they want to understand what's going on a daily basis with the project. And Revizto basically gives an instant sharing process, an instant possibility of sharing it and getting the feedback without knowing, a complicated or learning any complicated programs and products. So actually, I will give the stage now to Curtis, and I'll be assisting with the live demo on his computer. So he'll be talking about the first workflow, how to win the projects. Sure. Correct?
Good morning. How's everybody? Before we get started, let me just hear everyone in the room say, all right, all right, all right. Just starting out light. Anyway, thank you guys. Thank you guys for attending our presentation this morning. So what I want to talk about is how to leverage the Revizto technology to assist you guys in the pursuit of new projects. Obviously, we're kind of all in the business of continuing to win new work and also maintaining our current clients as well. And so showcasing your firm as one that's progressive, one that's adopting new technology, all plays kind of a role, right, in that process. So I want to kind of showcase that workflow and how Revizto can assist a firm in doing that. I wanted to do similar to a role play. So let's say, for example, your firm has been selected as, I don't know, a finalist of 3 firms to bid and pursue maybe a new large municipal project. So how are you going to differentiate yourselves when your firm is kind of putting together your statement of qualifications? How are you going to outdo your competitor, or in this scenario, the other 2 firms that are part of this process? So the first thing that I want to show or talk about, and I'll have my colleague Armin assist me, is how you can quickly convert your BIM data, your BIM model, your Revit model, in this case, to a fully navigable 3D environment. Obviously, I'm pretty sure we're all very familiar with Revit and Revit fans. So as Armin stated earlier, what Revizto does is within one click, sitting there in Revit, in this case, allows you to quickly transfer all of your metadata, your linked files, sheets, objects, all of that information is pushed over into the Revizto platform to create a 3D environment. So, right, that's cool. You can push it out and create this virtual environment to kind of fly through and surf through. What's the value there for a firm? What's the value there for an owner? A lot of times, maybe if you're having a conversation and you're during that interview phase, and the owner may not be necessarily tech savvy and have the skills to understand as you're navigating through a BIM model or a Revit model, being able to push out and ultimately share and invite your owner to your collaborative process throughout the project lifecycle, what this does is allow them to view the model and understand your design intent in an easy, consumable fashion. So simply, let's say, for example, if we're in the process, we're in the interview, we will put our owner's name into the invite box here and share out the model to our owner. So in the scenario, there's not a lot of parameters that the owner has set up for the 3 firms that are bidding on the project. But one parameter that they did discuss is that they want to be able to have constant contact with their firm of choice throughout the project life cycle. So now that we've shared the model out, we've converted the model into the 3D environment, we've shared it with our owner, one of the next things that we can use as part of this pursuit process is the ability to create video notes. So I'll have Armin go to the video notes. Sure. What this does is this allows you to showcase to your owner, to your prospect, that you can quickly do a predetermined path that not only records the path, but also records your audio. So in this case, I'm the firm, you guys are my owner. So we're going to create a quick video similar to if you're taking a video on your iPhone or on your iPad. So we click record. So I'm giving you a quick update. I'm in Las Vegas and maybe you guys are in North Carolina. Here's a quick update, Mr. Owner, as of December the 2nd. So we'll stop the record. Let's do a playback really quick, please.
I did it already. While you were talking.
So there's a couple of different ways that your owner can consume this data, right? So remember a few moments ago, we did invite the owner to the project. So now they can, one, view this video note within the Revizto viewer, and you can also export the video as an MOV or an AVI file as well. So what this does is it gives you the ability to send quick updates with audio and paths relatively quickly and easy to your prospective owner. So continuing around the theme of making sure our owner has constant contact throughout the project life cycles, you can, I'm sure we're all familiar with viewpoints. So you can bring in any of your viewpoints that you have set up in Revit into Revizto. Which will be listed as the original viewpoints that you see in the top right hand of your screen. But in addition to that, you can create your own custom viewpoints in Revizto as well. So what is the value around this particular functionality? Let's say, for example, there's some pieces of the project that the firm and the owner wanted to pay a little bit more attention to. Maybe it's a specially designed conference room or a courtyard on the rooftop of a building. Whatever the case may be, creating these predetermined viewpoints can allow you to quickly communicate to the owner where we are in the project just by hopping around and jumping to those particular viewpoints. So this, instead of just navigating through the entire model, if we wanted to get on a quick collaborative conversation, here's a couple of viewpoints about this particular new conference room or new courtyard. The next piece, to me, individually, is one of my favorite parts of the platform, is the ability to camera share. So I'm the firm, and you guys are my owner. Let's say, again, you're in North Carolina, I'm in Las Vegas. A lot of times when we're having our coordination conversations, our collaborative conversations with our owners, with our studio leads, we use a multitude of different platforms to have that conversation, especially if there is a geographical difference between the offices and the owners and the studio leads and the PMs. So, you may pull in. We were just having a conversation with someone at the booth yesterday about this process. They use a myriad of Skype and GoToMeeting, which can be choppy. In this case, you can utilize the camera share functionality, and we will invite a friend of ours, Dan Stein, who is in Minnesota, and we will also invite my colleague, Greg, who is sitting up front here with the iPad. So Dan Stein in Minnesota, Curtis in Las Vegas, Greg is here sitting in front of me, can have kind of that collaborative session, that collaborative conversation where all the information is in one place. We don't have Skype up on one screen, we don't have two monitors up on the other screen, and we're not trying to load up a GoToMeeting. So Armin is kind of driving this conversation. He's driving the session. So we are communicating to our owner what we want them to see. But also on the flip side, maybe the owner has some things in mind that they want to show us. So they also have the opportunity to drive the session as well. So, for example, if Greg asks for control, now he's in Minnesota, and now he can kind of drive this camera share session. So this comes into play, especially when you're working with your clients in multiple different states. Maybe you have offices in multiple different states, and you want to have that communication between you and your fellow teammates. The camera share functionality gives you the ability to do that. And I see like Greg is clicking on different objects and giving the object data. So there's a lot that you can do within the camera share.
Just to make sure you understand, now Greg is manipulating basically my view on his iPad. So, and if somebody wants from other side to manipulate, you just request the control back, and everybody can switch over. So, and this gives you, understanding that people who are working with you, they see exactly what you want them to see through that feature. Sorry.
Yeah. Thank you, Armin.
Yeah.
Bringing us back kind of to the main idea, we're bidding for a job, we're interviewing for a job, we're trying to outdo our competitor. Sometimes you may have, let's say, for example, if it's a healthcare project and you're working with nurses and doctors who may or may not understand how to readily read a 2D sheet.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. How to read a 2D sheet. So in this instance, as we talked about earlier, you do have the ability to bring in your 2D sheets from Revit as well. You can take advantage of the 2D to 3D overlay within the Revizto viewer. So if you have that nurse or you have that doctor and they're not really understanding the 2D sheet that you have in front of you, you can basically go into the viewer and drag or drape the 2D sheet on top of the 3D view. And again, it's as a wow factor, it's cool when you first look at it, but as far as functionality, value, what's the ROI here, is allowing your client to be able to understand your design in the 3D view or in the 3D world, if that's what they're used to and typically working in. So finally, we've come to the end, and we're getting ready to finally button up and wrap up our statement of qualification. So the other two firms, they've submitted their bids, they've had their interview process. One thing that you can do to kind of take your pitch to the next step is tie in the ability to directly integrate your models with the Oculus Rift, with the Oculus VR. So imagine, again, if you've got the three firms, one guy has 2D boards, another guy has 2D sheets, and you have the ability to allow your prospect or your owner to become fully immersed in your design via the Oculus Rift. Again, this just adds another quote-unquote feather in your cap when pursuing new business. So we'll take, this is the fun part, we'll take some show of hands. Anyone want to come up and try the Oculus Rift goggles?
Scotty, you want it?
We'll get to you.
You're very close. How about it?
So while Scotty is kind of loading up the Oculus, just to kind of reiterate and kind of go over, I know I kind of told my story in a kind of a role play scenario, but the idea is how can you use or utilize tools that you have at your feet to allow you to kind of outdo your competition, to differentiate yourself? Are you showcasing your firm as one that's being progressive, innovating, adapting new technology, embracing new technology? And that's kind of the workflow, I guess, or some of the tools that you would have at your hands to be able to allow you to do that.
Basically what we've done, we use the camera share functionality. Now whatever he does in his Oculus, you guys can see here. So he's now manipulating with the gamepad, and he's in Oculus. So he sees exactly what you see here on the screen. You're not dizzy? No, good.
Well, thank you. Well, at this point, what I'll do is, and if anyone else wants to come up and try the Oculus, feel free. But I will pass the floor back over to my colleague, Armin, as we continue the presentation.
Yeah. So, thank you, Curtis. You're a real showman, buddy. So I want to go to the second story. The second story, as I said, it's the coordination and collaboration features that we have, and talk about that. And I guess Mark is ready to do that. Absolutely. And I'll be showing on his computer. Let me just switch over. You know, how can you use and utilize the issue tracker for bringing your coordination to another level? Mark, floor is yours.
Thanks, Armin. So for those of you guys kind of continuing off of Curtis's story, we're going to, we've won the job. We've now kind of entered in, and now the owner wants to be involved in this process. So the first thing I was going to step to talk about is getting those owners that are not technical savvy. So those people who are reluctant to open up an iPad, they have enough trouble trying to visualize this. How can we get them involved, and how can we make them feel comfortable, although they're not a project manager, they're not building buildings on a daily basis. This actually the project that we have up on the screen here is going to be is actually a project that was done in Wisconsin for a client.
Here you go.
For a client, and their owner was not building these on a daily basis, so they really want to feel comfortable. So we're going to walk through the 4 ways we set it up for non-technical owners. So the first thing that we're going to do is we actually go up to and we teach them how the walk functionality works. So for those of you who are familiar with the walk functionality, it's really simple. For those of you who are not, it is the first button on the left that has the walk person on there, and basically it's like going to a bowling alley and having the bumpers up. So you can walk through. You're not going to go through any walls. You're not going to go through any ceilings. You're not going to fall through the floor. So it's basically allows you to turn gravity on and be able to walk around this building with no issues at all. So Armin right now is using the gaming keys, which is the W, and then he's using the mouse to look around.
And there is another secret key to have the gun in the walk mode, but I'm not going to tell you that.
We're not going to disclose that one today. So the next thing, so once we get the owners involved with this is really basic, showing them, okay, you're in walk mode, we start them off, use the W key, use the mouse, they're pretty comfortable with that. The second thing that we do is we show them right click. So basically when we right click in Revizto, very simple, we can look around. So this is from any viewpoint, any navigation, if they want to look around, all they're doing is right clicking on their mouse. And so the second functionality we'll show them is actually the viewpoint. So we're going from left to right. Typically we do not show them fly mode, which is what we're in now. Fly mode sometimes gets out of control if they're not comfortable with technology where they can go through walls. So we let them start off with walk mode and then eventually we'll get them into fly mode. So viewpoints, you guys saw Curtis talk a little bit about viewpoints. We're going to talk about how we set those up. So really basic, the way viewpoints work is if we have filters set, so if we have a wall hidden or something transparent or something isolated, that viewpoint is going to replicate the exact same thing. So what we're going to do here is we want to make sure that we are in walk mode. As we can see here, we're in walk mode to start. And we're going to make sure that all the material types are turned on. And then we're going to create a viewpoint with a short thing such as coffee. The Redmond company did a fantastic job with this up in Wisconsin, basically labeling these very specific talking points of what the owner wanted to see. And the owner absolutely loved it. So basically now the owner can go into viewpoints and click on the Revizto button and now select any of these viewpoints that are labeled talking points. So without the client being there, they can show their colleagues or some of their friends and say, hey, check out our lobby view or our atrium stairs. And when they get there, they're already in walk mode. So Armin, if you want to click on coffee, for example, this will actually take you up to their coffee waiting room, and you're already in walk mode, so he can walk around and use the right-click functionality to view it. And the third functionality that we're going to talk about is the measuring tool. We will show owners this. So, for example, if they're curious on how high is this ceiling, very easily, or what is the clearance here, we click, drag, and drop. So it's that simple. Owners love playing with that functionality and be able to measure and get an idea of space, even when they're not in the Oculus. And so if we close out of this and we go to, for those of you who have heard me speak about Revizto, my favorite feature is the map functionality. You've probably seen me stack this in a bunch of different combinations, so I'll use this with some of the more advanced features, but the very basics of the map functionality is it's like an intelligent 2D sheet. So we can zoom in. If we scroll in, we'll start to see the room names populate, and we can go anywhere in the model. So if we want to go to conference 138, we'll basically just click 138. He'll right-click, and you can see that we're in that conference room. So if we go back to that map functionality and go to, let's just say, second floor, it will recut. It'll recut the model to the second floor, and we can pick out a common area, and it'll bring us over right by those chairs. Right-click, and we can look around that area. So that's one thing we will tell the owners how to do because it's so simple and it allows them not to be locked in by these viewpoints. And they absolutely love that feature on their iPad.
All right, so we're moving to the
So
other
we're going to jump over to back to the project that Curtis was on, and we're going to talk about maybe a more expensive project, maybe one that was $150, $200 million, where now we have a project manager involved who's done this before. They want to provide feedback to you guys, and they want to be involved. So the first thing I want to talk about here, and sometimes that's scary of, oh no, now the owner can provide us feedback, and they feel that that's a magic wand to be able to do anything that they want within the project. And so I think it comes down to setting up the correct expectations, and the owners that we've set up the correct expectations of what to expect, and when they're going to be able to provide feedback and how that feedback is going to be consumed is the ones that it works out the best with. So if we establish, Mr. Owner, this is here for, this is an advantage that we provide as company ABC, and this is one of the values of working with us, that you guys can see the model in 3D before that. They don't feel like they can mark up everything and change things and slow down the design process so you don't hit deadlines. So having that set up and understanding beforehand is very important. So
are we showing now the markup?
Yep. So we're going to go. So we've already talked about the four from the left, and the one that we did not talk about was the issue tracker, which is the most used functionality within Revizto. And the reason we didn't do this with some of the non-technical owners is because they sometimes get, they might not understand the design process where a project manager of somebody who's built, 3 or 4 hospitals and been involved with that, certainly does. So here we are in, after we've won this project, we're in a coordination meeting. We knew the owner was talking about how they wanted this pipe removed. You saw Armin, he quickly section boxed this out, and we're using the camera share so we could be in multiple offices, and we were viewing this with the owner, and he says, yep, that's, we want that out of there. He clicks the plus button. He can simply mark this tool up, kind of explain what he's looking for. And as you see him, he's actually going to just type in, describe what the issue is. And what this does is it creates similar to an iPhone feed. So all the information, all the data consumed with this issue is all held within the issue tracker. So we don't have text messages, emails, Skype messages, as Curtis talked about, all kind of out in the blue. So we got, well, it looks like, I don't know what Curtis was doing in Vegas last night, but usually we write in English on there, but typically we describe the problem a little more detailed, but we attach reports, attach photographs. You saw my colleague Greg, who's playing our owner today. He took a photograph of all of you guys in the beginning when Curtis was up there. Greg can say, you know what, here's what the pipe looks like, and this pipe's going to look like you guys today. So
Dan is also there.
So Dan, so here's the, we have Alex and Greg sending in photographs of Curtis in the beginning. Dan, who's 2,000 miles away in California, is now watching this issue at 127, and he can start to...
Not California.
Or I'm sorry, in Minnesota. 2,000 miles away in Minnesota, and he can talk about, those issues as well. So from there, we can assign this issue. So maybe we know this is going to our MEP guy. So he'll go to edit, and we'll select Alex, who is our MEP guy for the day. And now Alex immediately gets a notification, like you guys see the green notification up on top, saying, Alex, you need to go into Revit and change this. Because the model is coordinate-based, Armin can jump into Revit, into our issue tracker very easily, select the current project that we're working on.
Which project is this? Can you tell me? This one? No. This one. Okay, sorry. Here.
And we can see that this pipe comes up, and if we double-click on it, it shows up in an Axon isometric view in Revit. So very easily, we're in a working format now in Revit that we can manipulate this data. And actually, what clients like a lot is now from within Revit, we can talk and use this almost as an IM system that is still logged in with the same housing of that issue tracker. So the correspondence from within Revizto and from Revit is the exact same. So, here we are 6 months down the line, and we had a question about who said something. Well, it's all time-stamped, and we can see, where this issue last was left off at. So that's how we get owners involved with the issue tracker. One of the other things, so while in a design meeting, if we're using this camera share functionality, a lot of you guys who might be comfortable with Navisworks might say, hey, you know what? I could see this being a great way to share our Navisworks model. So we can actually go into our issue tracker and we can filter by issues that we brought in from Navisworks, because everybody loves Navisworks. It's a great tool for clash detection, and then being able to hold this conversation within Navisworks. So we're not reinventing Navisworks. We're not doing clash detection within Revizto. We're just simply moving that over to Revizto for viewing. So we can see here's our screenshot from Navisworks, and then we can see that within the 3D view. And as you can see, because it's section boxed, if we open that up without even going into Revizto, we can use that issue tracker plugin within Revit to bring in an isometric view to make that change within the Revit model. So that's how we've gotten people involved with the Navisworks users. So the last thing I want to talk about is now, after we've won the project, after we've got the owner involved, we've done our design, we've done CDs, DDs, and now we're into construction. I want to discuss how we're going to use project managers from a GC to be able to manipulate this data on site while in construction. So a lot of those project managers are really comfortable with this 2D workflow. They don't want to go into the 3D, so they want a lot of them don't feel comfortable yet walking through a building and saying, okay, I know that we had a cracked tile here or paint's missing here. They like to just do it in the platform. So we allow them to continue the workflow that they feel comfortable with by marking up in 2D. So Armin is going to create an issue, and for this first example, we're going to do tile. We'll say that there's a cracked tile right here in meeting room 13.4. So he's just going to mark this up. He's going to describe the issue just as they would in any other 2D platform they're marking up in. And as they mark this up, the issue tracker works the exact same. The thing that we're going to do different here for punch list is we're going to use more of an advanced tagging system. So our tags are very easy to customize. So if you click edit, we're going to say this is a cracked tile issue, so we'll just name it tile, for example, and then we'll use ABC firm as well. So Armin's going to tag this ABC firm as well as cracked tile, and he can assign that and tag that. So now we can more accurately pull reports, and we can filter out and find that issue later. So right now, if we go back to that plan, let's create one more issue, Armin. One more issue, we're going to create a paint issue. And so this issue, we're just going to create, maybe we got a little paint chip missing that we need to fix on this wall. So we're going to mark up an area over here. We're going to write down and describe what the issue is and where it's located and what needs to be done with it. And now we're going to tag that ABC firm because we'll say that firm is also going to be doing that, the same firm. And then we're also, but this is going to be paint. And then we'll do, and then we'll name one paint. So now, as Armin kind of showed you, if we go to the filter button and we click and we filter by ABC firm, we're going to see both that paint and tile issue.
Where is the tags? Oh, okay, so I'm in clashes.
And we're going to search for that. We can see ABC firms right there. And if we click on that, we're going to see those two issues that we marked up. Both of them are open issues, so they both show up in red on the 2D plan. If they're in progress, they show up in orange, and if they're green, they're solved issues. So now if we were to also filter by paint, you'd only see that one paint issue come up. So it really gives us an idea to really go down and find those specific issues and pull a custom report later, which we're going to show you. So one thing I want to go back to is if we click on that issue, for example, that paint issue that we just did, as you saw Armin, because it was, even though it was marked up in 2D like people are accustomed to doing, we can still click the 3D functionality on the left side of the screen, and we can jump into that 3D. So we can see in blue where it's flashing. If Armin selects that issue, we can select the 3D portion, and now we can see that and manipulate using the right-click button to see what that area really looks like. So that's the benefit of kind of bridging the gap between this 2D and 3D world that we live in. So the last thing I wanted to discuss was the reporting mechanism, which you can see the report mechanism on the top right. It looks like a little envelope. So Armin's going to click that, and because we custom tagged a couple of these things, we can pull a report based on the deadline, the tag, the assignee, and we can create this custom report. So we just did a kind of a mock one right before this. Armin's had put out. So maybe you have a consultant that's completely has worked on this 2D plan the entire time. So they want to jump in. Armin could create a report here very easily, and if we once it's been created, this can be customized to send into their email address maybe once, twice a week. Maybe it's every single day during a certain phase of the project. But if we open up this PDF that we received, do we have that PDF sheet?
Yeah, sure.
We can show an example of now we're getting a custom report with the markups based on the size of the PDF, and now this individual can see not only the comments, but they can also see screenshots of the PDF, so they can go there and work on that. So their project manager or foreman can hand them a 2D piece of paper with the markups and comment notes that were made in Revizto. They can go address that, and then their foreman can check it off in Revizto. So that's one of the ways we've seen general contractors that are having subcontractors that are used to working in 2D. They can keep them in 2D by using that functionality in Revizto. So what we've done here today is we've won an interview with Revizto. We've got our owners comfortable with using Revizto, no matter what size the project is. We've taken it a step further and done design coordination meetings and pre-construction. And then we've kind of sealed the deal with construction and punch list items in Revizto. So we've all been able to do that all within one platform, holding all the data within of these issues all within one system, and it's simple and it's easy to use, and owners absolutely love it. So next I want to pass this over to Armin. We spent a lot of time working with our clients over the past 6 months, sitting in their offices, learning about how they're designing, how they're doing their workflow, how they're doing punch lists, and we've taken some of that feedback and we've really drilled down to make this even a more efficient tool, bringing it through the entire project lifecycle, and Armin's going to talk about that and what's coming up in our next release in 4.0. Armin?
Yeah, thanks. But I guess I don't have it here.
I emailed it to you.
No, I don't have the PowerPoint. I don't know why, but I'll talk about that. But first of all, before I go to the 4.0, I'd like to kind of give you to have it more interactive because we have time a little bit. If you have any questions concerning what you've just heard, so guys could answer to you and we can all answer to you, that'd be great to raise your questions now. Sure.
I just had a question. Can you view, right now you see the material, but a lot of our clients get hung up on material when it's not worked out. Can you view it black and white or different ways?
Yeah, we can do this. Where's your sketch mode here?
Oh, yeah.
So
You have a sketch mode functionality, so you can just, in the editor, you can just say, I want this project to be in sketch mode, and take any color of the sketch you want, and in the viewer, you will see the same project in sketch mode. So there wouldn't be hang up on the colors as you're saying. Yeah, we do have that.
Yeah, it's a great question, because actually in the project that I showed you guys earlier, the Redmond company said the exact same thing. They said, we don't have all of our materials in there yet. We're working to put those in there. They had it in color, and they actually showed their owner, I think for a few weeks, it just in the cardboard or black and white mode. And they said, the owner was impressed with that, and when they turned on the color, they felt like, they just put hours of work into the color, when in reality they just switched a button with color on. So yeah, sometimes that does help eliminate the questions on, why is this wall this color, or why is this floor type this, or I don't like this. And that's really where it comes down to where we discussed before, is setting the right expectations depending on what stage of design you are in, that, the walls aren't really going to look like this, or the floor is not really going to look like this. This is to give you an idea of space.
Can you attach pictures to those reports as you're generating the items? I'm thinking more so from a punch list standpoint.
You can basically attach the pictures to the issues, and those pictures will be visible in the reports. But because report is basically the whole database of your issue tracker, and whatever you have, like let's say, see here, you have an issue, and then within that issue, if you have, it shows the whole feed that you had, and including pictures, photos, anything you have, or PDF documents, anything you have attached to it. So if you do have there, then in the report you will have that pictures.
And then another question I had is, a lot of times when we're going through the design process, our Revit models are somewhat lagging behind. So you have a Revit model that if you flew through it, there'd be issues like walls not going up to the roof, or holes, or things that just aren't resolved. Have you run into any issues with, your Revit model isn't 100%? I mean, these models look really refined. Have you run into any issues with that, where your Revit model's not fully refined, and you put it in there and you have?
The thing is that the beauty of this product is that it doesn't matter in which iteration of your project you are. You're free to, first of all, you can choose only the part that you want to collaborate. So in Revit, you can just select which part of the model you want to export, and it will basically export that exact. I'm just gonna, if I select this part and I hit the export button, it will basically export only that selected part of the model. So first of all, a solution, if you don't want to show everything, you can just kind of show only the part that is ready, and it's easy, just select and go. And then as far as the internal coordination is concerned, not with the owner, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, you can do this daily, just pushing on a button on your Revit and showing what's going on a daily basis to all of your team.
And so going off of that point, even one step further with the Redmond company, that model is being, so they're using it for internal design meetings, and they're also utilizing it for the owner. So they actually have a separate project that's labeled the owner. So they're not putting those issue tracker issues in there. So you do have an option to make those private where an individual can't see it, but they don't want their owner getting, if they're changing a design every single day and they're putting little things and it's tweaked every single day, most of those aren't relevant to the owner. So they have an owner one that they update, and I think it's like maybe once every 3 weeks with all the changes in there from the Revit model. But then they, just the owner's involved, so now they don't see any of the conversation, they don't have to worry about it, and the owner, that model's always going to look the same when the owner's in there, and they're not going to have updates constantly. So that's how they address it, and it was really simple. They export one project named owner project, and they export another one called internal design. So very simple in the way they did that process.
And I don't know, I can actually say part of the thing that I'm going to be sharing with you as the inside of the 4.0 that concerns of the export. I think it's appropriate to say right now is that, we're having, and we've heard a lot from our users, they're saying, what, we're GC, we have we're very busy and we don't have time for every day to follow up who's going to be kind of exporting from Revit into Revizto the latest version, because we want to have always the latest version for internal coordination. And how we're going to do that. So for 4.0, we're having this a smart system which will basically, you can set, I want every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, every weekdays, or any day you want to choose, like at midnight to be updated. My model should be updated. So Revizto automatically will launch your Revit if it's not launched on your computer, export to Revizto and share with whole team through the cloud. So every morning you come to the office, in Revizto you have the latest version of your Revit file, including all the links and stuff. So that's coming up in 4.0 in February.
My question was, if another team member creates an issue, do you get notification of that?
Yeah, all the issues are coming with email notifications. So basically, if you're a signee and reporter, and you'll get an instant notification immediately. And then here in the issue tracker, we have a very smart system of private and public mode. So let's say you have one project and you have different groups. You don't want everybody to see all the issues. So you just basically, every time you create issue, you can basically say, okay, I want this issue to be in private mode. I'm just clicking on private mode, and only assignee, reporter, and watchers, if I'm adding watchers, will see this issue in their project. And for the rest of the guys, it's not going to be visible. And again, everything is happening if you're assignee, reporter, or watcher. Everything happens. Any tag, any comment, any attachment, it will be emailed automatically to the group who is in this issue.
So we'll have a lot of firms that have like their MEP group in the same project, and when they merge these models, they'll just add if they had 5 MEP guys, and because those issues aren't pertaining to anything else, they're only relevant to that. It doesn't really matter if anybody sees it or not. They just try to keep it concise, so they know every issue within the issue tracker has something pertaining to their discipline. So it'll be utilized in that way as well.
Where is the mic?
So we got a question.
Yeah.
It is possible to import all the comments you got in Revizto to Revit again? Or
Say it again.
it is possible to import your comments in Revizto into Revit?
It's synced, I'm sorry if we didn't make it clear, automatically. So what you have done in Revizto, you have, see, in Revit you have issue tracker.
Okay.
When you open it, you have the same issue tracker here in Revit. And all the feed, everything you can see per each issue, you have it here. And if I want to see that issue in my Revit, I'm just double clicking and it creates the view where this issue is located.
Yeah.
That's one of the powerful part of the software.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. All the feed, comments, everything, including photos, attachments, everything. Yeah, we have a question over
just
there.
comment. And when you update your model again and check that you have that you have checked the opening or
Yeah.
something. Then you export it for Revizto.
From Revit
Yeah.
to Revizto, yeah.
And
It
then-
all goes back and forth, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fine.
More than that, you have, if you want to see your kind of other versions, you see in the project gallery of your viewer, you see all the project that has been updated, and it has a log. So basically, I can see all the versions of each project that has been generated, by whom and the time and day, and I can open all the previous version of the project and see them, and see also all the issues that have been done back that time. So it has a full update, log of each project. Yeah.
You had in the Oculus example, you had looked like you had lighting baked into the model, and
Yeah.
the other model they weren't. Can you talk through that process of baking in the lights into the model?
Yeah. I didn't actually show you. We have, for that purposes, we have the editor. So if we open the editor, we basically have a possibility of tuning up our project lighting. Baking the light maps, changing the textures. Let's say if I go to the illumination, so you see all the light sources that came from Revit, and first of all you can tune them up, lights, and I can just click on it and change the color temperature, anything I want, or intensity, and based on that, basically bake the light maps right from here. Here we have light maps. If I turn on, I have my default setting, fast, quality, or medium, or I can have a customs to make the light maps and bake that. In the same area, you have a possibility of environment changing, so I can change the skybox. I can make the time of the day whenever I want to, and it's very fast. And it all will be basically saved in the project. So you have a ton of, I'm not touching this because it's not about collaboration, it's more about visualization, but we are more on collaboration side than, and bring a lot of value on the collaboration. That's why we're not talking about this a lot. But there are a ton of stuff for visualization in it. Any other question? Yeah.
I think we got two. We got one over here, and then.
Back with the issue tracking portion, as far as like if you have somebody out in the field and they're taking photos and marking up stuff, do you have to have like an internet connection?
No.
It's all offline?
That's the greatest part. They'll say when you open the project on your device, let's say on Android device or on iPad, it caches automatically on your device, and then you can go to the field, take the pictures, mark up everything what you want, and then when you come back to the office or anywhere you have Wi-Fi, it will automatically push everything you've done and push down whatever changes you've had within this project while you were offline. Yeah.
Two questions. First, on the mobile side.
Yeah.
It seems like once you get all the MEP systems and the architecture and all that combined into one, the models get pretty heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a way to kind of separate, create a project folder and separate like by floors or something via the model to create a quicker load time on the iPad or?
Yeah.
So one of my clients, I won't say the name of this client, but they have a project. I think it's 90 models, 30 buildings that they're doing. And so the way they set it up and the way we set up the entire project here is we set up the different buildings as different projects within that. So they have a master plan which shows all this entire campus of where these buildings are. So when they're, if they want to do a fly-through and get an idea of spacing between the buildings, they can go into that. But they're not heavily loading that in there because the iPads can't handle 90 different models. So it's basically setting up each of those buildings or a series of buildings that are connected. Like in that first example that I showed you, you saw that I think there was 3 buildings in that, and it handles it just fine even on the iPad. But it was just easier for them if they have they have a specific building that has 5 different disciplines in it. It's easier just to export that out as a single building. So if they're working on that building, they just go into that project. So very easily you can open that up and then have that stored locally on your iPad, and it runs it just fine because it's only rendering that smaller portion of that, one of those 30 buildings.
And second, is it possible to export Navis viewpoints into the project?
Navis Viewpoints, it's coming out. It automatically comes out. When let's say, see this viewpoints that we have here, this comes from Revit. So whatever we've showed today, it works identical for Navisworks, AutoCAD, Revit, and all SketchUp, all these programs which are compatible with us. So all your viewpoints, and it will be original, right? Original viewpoints that you've created in Navisworks will automatically, after the export, will appear here in the viewer. And then you can create, of course, yours just by clicking on a plus button and have that here.
Is that also true for clashes that you run within Navisworks once you bring the Navisworks model in?
The clashes? Yeah, of course. I mean, you see, I mean, once you import your clashes from Navisworks into Revizto issue tracker, it actually has all the positioning of the viewpoint, everything what you have in that clash. And you will see through, as I showed you here, you will see basically if you have a clash. I don't know where is the clash one. Hang on a second. No, it's not the one. I guess it's test.
There it is, 155.
Here you go. So it will basically, it remembers where it is, and you can see, and this is the original kind of view from Navisworks, as you can see. And here it shows you where exactly it is located in the 3D model in an interactive format, so you can fly through and see from any angle the same clash.
So if that model came originally from Revit, this is something that folks really love because they love the functionality of Revit. It's really easy. They're comfortable with it. They love how Navisworks works. But combining Revizto as kind of that collaboration tool, you can take those room names and that map functionality that I showed you with that intelligent 2D sheet. You can see where these clashes are located on the plan and their elevation. Because that model originally came from Revit, it has that data held within it still.
Any other questions so far? Yeah.
Do you support the IFCs?
Yeah, we do support IFC and FBX format of files. So basically, in the editor, you can directly, in the editor, you can directly, let me just import any FBX or IFC format of files. And it will be, and it will create basically a project right away.
What if the coordinates don't match? Can you move the models? If you have, let's say, an IFC from Archicad or whatever, and it doesn't match with the HVAC model.
Mm-hmm.
Can you move them and make them match?
That's in the merging, I guess, right? We can do, no? It's kind of, if I understand you correctly, first of all, we are compatible with Archicad as well, so we have the plugin in Archicad, so you don't have to use IFC for Archicad. You can export, and then here we have merging functionality, so you basically can merge any different projects you have inside of Revizto, or during the export from Revit, you can also merge different kind of files. And all these files comes merging with the sheets attached to it, because a lot of times people are asking, can we merge and merge the sheets as well? So that's also being merged during the export. Any other question? Yeah.
So if I'm the owner, what type of software do I need to install in order to first view your project? Then if I'm going to collaborate, is there another piece that's an add-on?
No. That's the greatest part. That you don't need to have different software. You just install from App Store or Mac OS Store or for PC from our website, just the viewer. And in that viewer, we have embedded the issue tracker, everything, whatever you've seen in this program, it's basically the viewer. So everything is in one program, and depending on skill set of the person and the purposes of using it, he can use measuring tool, issue tracking, walk mode, fly mode, creating video nodes, what Curtis was talking about, using the map functionality, everything that is in one program.
So
I also noticed you have an editor.
So
Yeah, the Revizto editor is basically for visual parts. Let's say if you don't like what you have in Revit, but you want to change it, make it more prettier, attach textures and stuff, you can use that. Or bake, as one of the guys said about baking light maps and light sources, that you can do in the editor. But again, I'll tell what's coming up in 4.0. Now when you do the export, it goes to the editor first, and then you share the project and save it for the viewer. In 4.0, we're basically making a shortcut. So any export you'll be doing from your BIM software, it's going to go directly to the viewer. So and if you want editor for like light sources and light maps and any other feature that editor has, you can open that editor from the viewer. But you will have only one program on your computer.
yeah, I was just gonna say for owners, we only have that viewer on there. So they don't have the editor, they have the viewer that they install. You invite them to the project, as Armin showed you in the beginning. Very simple, you type in their email address, and it actually pre-populates into their viewer. So when they open it up, they click on the project, and they're already in it. So that's all the owner has to do to be involved.
90 minutes. So, and what else I wanted to say, what we see from our, users is that basically having this access through the viewer, when you're having the full access to your BIM data, we're giving a great value for Revit, let's say, or Navisworks, that basically you can have, because in a project team you have less people using these software rather than, you don't have all of the guys in the project lifecycle using Revit or Navisworks. Few people work using that. So Revizto basically gives that value of leveraging Revit and access to the Revit data through the viewer without, learning any complicated program. And it helps, let's say, in Europe, in some countries like in France, they basically are using our software for kind of turning into BIM, turning the format of the company into a BIM savvy company, because literally like 2-3 guys are using Revit. The rest of the people, they have no idea how to use it. And through Revizto, they're basically adopting the rest of the guys to the BIM process without any hustle. Any other questions, guys?
Do you have a maximum file size for a Revit file that would kind of be too big?
So I know we talked about this. I think maybe we've talked about this before, but we've had, Harley Ellis, we've talked about their model before. I was in, I think, their Chicago or Detroit office, and they had a LA and San Francisco office. So we had 30-some people on a call, and we basically had, I think, an 8 or 9 gig Revit model that they converted into Revizto. So we were sharing that model, with that many people, seamlessly. So we've had some really massive Revit and Navisworks models that are very complex be pushed into Revizto. And it seems it's more of the hardware capability than the platform. So But
again, we are working on that's one of the kind of strength of the software is to handle big format of files, not small or medium size. That's why one of the kind of constant development part of our software is to always push the limits through our users, because they're fitting us with the very complex models, which, let's say, have some problems and stuff. So we're always pushing the limits of taking those big format of files and putting that into Revizto without any problem. And that's one of the directions in the development side, that we're always working on it, and we're not stopping to, making it even more seamless for the big files. Yeah.
Is there a way to control the level of detail when you export it from Revit?
The level of the detail of the file, you mean?
Like, are there different settings when you export it that you can change? Like, if you didn't want as much detail.
I think taking out shadows
detail?
or...
What do you mean by detail? You mean by the number of objects, or?
Like, if it's a large file.
Like minimizing the size of the file. So I think like taking out shadows and drop shadows and stuff like that, where...
This is something else. You can select basically which objects you want to, let's say you can select only architecture part, or MEP, or whatever, or structural, and send out to only the structural to Revizto. So, and Alex.
So in
Absolutely. Whatever is visible in 3D view will be visible in Revizto, including of course, the linked files, because linked files also are visible in the 3D view. Yeah.
How about your custom parameters? Will they automatically export? Do you create your own parameters?
Yeah, everything what you have created, everything will be exported automatically. And we didn't talk about beam data a lot, but everything, all the beam data you have, guys, you will see it here. By clicking on each object, you will see the whole data that you have attached in your Revit, and it's totally searchable. So while I'm typing, it gives you the highlights, and it also here shows you the name of the file, who created the file, because you have linked files, let's say, created by different people. Here, by clicking, you can see who is the author of that particular object. Yeah. Any other? Yeah.
One last question. Do you support the BCF?
Yeah. Great question. Our issue tracker basically is fully compatible with BCF. So see, this is the list of the issues. I can select all or whatever, and then export as BCF format of file. And as soon as I export that BCF format of file will go to any BCF viewer for the issue tracking, and vice versa. I can take BCF file and import into Revizto issue tracker. Any other questions? Yeah. Can you give the mic?
Where was that question? There we go.
How about the renderings? We can set up the materials in Revit, and can you read the materials in Revizto and do the rendering?
All the materials, textures, custom materials you have set up in Revit will be exported automatically with the file. So, but we're not about rendering. So we're about, collaboration. You have a possibility to render as well, but it's not about rendering. It's about collaboration. But
so
as
there's
far as
no render button there?
What is it?
So there's no rendering functions in this?
It does a rendering function. In the view, in the editor, if you want to render static images, you have, where is it? Render, here. So you can render any picture. It looks really good, but we're not creating something to replace rendering engines, and it's not our purpose. We just add it as a bonus if somebody wants to render as well, so they have it, but it's not our key feature. And as far as the materials is concerned, yes, all your custom materials you have set up and created and attached to your Revit model will be automatically visible and exported after the export is done.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Viewing hopefully like on an iPad, or if you're viewing on a Surface, you have an iPad app, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you're viewing on a Surface, can you manipulate it with your touchscreen with your fingers?
You can do both. We have, I guess, a special for Surface. We have a special build, I guess, right? A tablet Surface? We do, I guess.
If it's not on Windows RT, we support it.
You got it? If it's not on Windows RT, it's on full Windows, then it's automatically supportable, the touch screen.
We have a lot of firms that use that Surface tablet, that hybrid, they use thin clients for it.
And I guess, I said a lot of stuff about not a lot, but the major parts of the 4.0 is that, first of all, you will have this automatic export because people are saying, we're especially GCs, we're very busy. We want to set up that every day I want this export, the latest version of the file, so the system should export that automatically. So we have that in a process, and it will be done in 4.0 in February. Number two is basically doing even more simpler. So basically you're exporting from Revit directly to the viewer, and you're not going to the editor and then to the viewer as it is right now. And the third component, major component for 4.0, we're going to be supporting a true PDF with all links. So whether you're in 3D project or in 2D project, you can import directly to Revizto Viewer PDF documents or DWF also, and start collaborating on top of those, because people are saying, you know what, we are having in a different phases the project. Sometimes 3D model comes later, so we want to start from the 2D. So and we want to leverage your issue tracker. How we can do that? So for those purposes, we're having that full support of PDF, and it will be in vector format. I mean, right now when we export the sheets from Revit, we during the export kind of convert the vector format that you have in Revit into PNG format of file for Revizto. And in 4.0, it's going to be in vector format, so the resolution will be very, very high. So you will see everything and every single detail of your sheets in Revizto in a vector format. And you can start collaborating on top of that, those PDF documents, including the versioning. So basically, if your PDF document is being kind of updated every time, so you will see all the versions of each document, see the changes and the difference between it. So these are the major stuff that is coming up in 4.0. Yeah?
Isn't it true that you can attach product information to an element in the model?
Yeah, it is. You can, that's the object information. So in the editor, you have, when you click on it, let's say here, you have all this information that originally you have in Revit. And then if you want to add your custom, you just click on a plus button, and you can add here any internal link, any external link, anything you want. And this will be visible in, let's say, I don't know, source, and then
owner's manuals.
Whatever it is, yeah. And as soon as I save this, and then I go to the viewer, if I will click on this, you will get that link with a hyperlink that I added. I don't know whether do you have here the hospital project that I want to show? Where it is? Here. Let's say this one is Aaron Mallory, our user. This is the back group when he was working in a back group healthcare project. He did it in very high detail, the whole project for coordination with the medical personnel. Here, when you click on a hospital bed, you have this link. So it goes all the way to the manufacturer details of that hospital link. So that is all could be, if you have it in Revit, it will be automatically visible here. If you want to add your custom parameters per each object or per each family, you can do that in the editor, which will be safe in the viewer.
That parameter that you added, does it go back to Revit?
No. So,
does it show up in an issue tracker to be picked up in Revit if it needs to be?
say it again. Does it?
Or if you add a parameter here,
Yeah.
and it needs to be added in Revit, does that get picked up in the issue tracker, or do you have to add it to the issue tracker?
You have to add it. If you want, let's say it's an issue, right? So you're creating an issue saying, you know what, add this parameter of this of that hospital bed with this link. So I'm just saying, you know what, create an issue, and I don't know, whatever, hyperlink to be added in Revit, let's see. That's it. I'm creating this, and that's it. And I can basically add here, sorry, in the Revit. So and the guy will get it in the Revit that he should add to this hospital bed a hyperlink for the next iteration. And as soon as he updates that, so this bed will have that kind of custom parameter. Any other questions, guys? Yeah, you have a question. I can see from your eyes. What's that? Can you give the mic, please? Sorry.
I would like to understand how many projects you can load and in Revizto, how many projects, which is the capacity of about the size.
The size, as Mark said, we had a university campus with 8 gigabyte Revit file that has been loaded to Revizto without any problem and have been collaborated with how many people? 30 people or something. So it's pretty high, the capacity, but it all depends on
how many users.
No. The users doesn't matter. You have it doesn't matter at all. So for you load as soon as you load to the Revizto. Doesn't matter how many people you want to invite. You just enter the email of the people you want to invite, and these guys will get the access to that file through the viewer.
And one of them, he is the administrator.
Yeah, it all has these rights. So you have a super admin, content creator, viewers. So you can give to any of your team member each access. So you can just view and collaborate with you. The other one can edit. It means he can open up the project in the editor or in the Revit and then work with it. So it has all that hierarchy based on what you want to do within your project team. Sure.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
And I think the amount of projects you asked is based on the package size. So usually we don't have people hitting the project number. So if they, some firms have the ability to do 100 projects, some have the ability to do 500 projects. So they can have 500 live projects, and if they hit that 500 limit, they can start to archive some of their old ones. So we don't really run into a project amount.
Yeah, and everything, again, just to make it, to make it clear, everything, the whole export, everything is done on your computer locally. It's not done on the cloud. We're not using the cloud renderings or something. On the cloud, the cloud component of Revizto is being used only for sharing purposes. So your original Revit file, Navisworks file, we're not taking. You have it on your computer locally. And when you are converting that into Revizto, it creates like our format already, and and if you want to share, it creates a copy on your workspace on the cloud that you can just distribute to the rest of the people. Yeah.
So it's not a storage issue at all?
No. So, yeah. The price actually comes, depends on how many collaborators you want to have. To try it out, it's free, so you can install that for free on your computer and try out the export. As soon as you want to share this project with your collaborators or your teammates, you just buy a package, for individuals, but you're not individuals. For firms, it starts actually from 20 collaborators, so it costs $3,000 per year. And then you have 100 collaborators, $10,000, 250 collaborators, $15,000 a year, and $25,000 it's for 500 collaborators. So it's pretty and mostly it's being used around 100 collaborators for the firms, which are like medium-sized or big firms. They're using that amount of collaborator packages. And it's pretty accessible. You're paying like $10K for 100 collaborators for the whole year. And all updates, everything is in there, so you don't have to pay for any updates and stuff.
Yeah. I had one customer, I think they justified it. I think they broke it down to about, I think with their package it was $8 a month per user.
When you think about a collaborator, the definition of a collaborator, that can be an internal teammate, one of your subs, an owner. So it's not just, it's kind of like an end user, right? So it's not just in-house. It can be
yeah, anyone, yeah. And you can always change. You have 500 collaborators or 100 collaborators, you can always every day change them. You have that simultaneous usage of 100 people of your project team, from your project team.
So a collaborator is anybody who's accessing the file?
Yeah, is a collaborator, yeah. Yeah. As soon as you add the email address of that person to share with, it's a collaborator. And if you're sharing with a paid already user of Revizto, it's not counted. So basically, you don't have to pay for that guy. And he's not going to pay for you. So basically, if you're a pay user and I'm a pay user, we're sharing to each other. I'm not decreasing the amount of my capacity of my Revizto collaborators. Yeah.
collaborators, am I just using the one then, or am I using two because I'm on two projects?
You're just using one, so you
One.
could be on 10 different projects.
You're on
and
one, yeah.
You'd be one collaborator.
So you create a Revisto account, and regardless if you're on 1 or 10, it's one collaborator.
So, yeah.
So in the end, is it email-based or is it per machine?
No, it's not per machine. We don't care on which machine you are. You can have, let's say I'm sharing with you, you can view it on your iPad, you can view it on your PC, on your Mac, either simultaneously or any day, on any machine.
It's just, yeah, it's an identity-based licensing.
Yeah. It's not tied into to the machine. Yeah.
Is it 100 concurrent users or 100 named users? Like
Named.
So do you have to be online to start using it, and then you can go
Offline, yeah. It's like a Dropbox. When you want to take the file from the Dropbox, you have to be online. So as soon as you kind of open that project, it automatically caches on your device, and you don't have to be online from that point on. Yeah. It's a permanent login, yeah. So it remembers. Anyway, if you guys have any kind of, if you want to set up any demos and stuff and get our t-shirts, you're welcome to come to our booth and grab these guys and kind of schedule any demos for your organizations. We'll be happy to do that. And thank you very much. And don't forget to rate because that's the Autodesk University's kind of requirement. Don't forget to rate the class, please. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.